So I like to start at the very beginning. Um, young brother, early life upbringing in America. Can you take us back to your childhood
Wow.
and what it was like being a young black boy, growing up here in America?
Well, thank you, brother. First, this is really an honor to be on your show, to be a part of this series. Going back to my childhood, man, I grew up in Flint, Michigan. And some have learned about Flint, Michigan through the water crisis, but it's a factory town. And when I was coming up, everybody worked in the factory. Um, but my family didn't. My mother didn't. And at some point, the factory left, and it just so happened to leave around my teenage years. And when the factory left, or even when it was there, drugs, alcoholism, but particular drugs coming up in the 90s became the cultural norm. And I just remember as a little boy growing up watching these kinds of things take place, watching the gang violence, the drug violence entering into our city. And unfortunately for me, I was attracted to it. I was attracted to it. And I entered into that kind of lifestyle, drugs and gangs. It's more into gangs than drugs. I never had this desire to be a drug kingpin, but I had a desire to be, this gangbanger. You know what I mean? And this real street guy. Very young. So that was a period of transition in my childhood. I later transitioned into the Nation of Islam, of course, but I think my childhood was very rich.
Mhm.
I did experience some racism. Um, as I was growing up, I was not one of those. You hear people say, "Well, I never experienced racism." I did. You know, I don't think I was young enough. I was too young to know. But my mother was a very, 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 and is a very strong black woman, very conscious black woman. And she would see things. And I remember I was, I think I was in the fifth or sixth grade, maybe the fourth. And I was in the magnet program. This is when they took the children and they bus you from the schools in the hood to the schools in the suburbs.
Yep.
It's supposed to be for a better education. And I had this science teacher, and he asked us to write this paper on what we wanted to be when we grew up. And I wrote in the paper that I wanted to be the first black president of the United States of America. This was before, I'm dating myself, right? But this was before Jesse ran.
Yeah.
I was in elementary school. And he flunked my paper. And I never forget it. There were two white boys, um, uh, 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 Scott and Dale. And Scott and Dale wanted to be baseball players. And they let me see their paper. He gave them a passing grade, like an A on their paper. And I'm in the fourth or fifth grade, and I'm looking at their paper, and I'm looking at the errors in their grammar, the errors in their spelling. So I knew this is wrong.
Yeah.
That you marked my paper with a failing grade, and I wanted to be the first black president, and you marked theirs with a passing grade. They wanted to be baseball players and soccer players, and they couldn't even spell, read, or write. I took that home to my mother, and my mother came back to the school, brother, and she put a verbal lashing
Mhm.
on that teacher. I'd never seen someone so afraid, right? But my mother, she put it on him. And I kept that paper for years, kept it in my drawer. And that was my first experience with racism. And then another experience I had was in the spelling bee, same school. We went and we were competing for the spelling bee. And I was a finalist. It was between me and another child, happened to be a Caucasian, and they asked me to spell tango. I remember this like yesterday. and I said, "Tay." I didn't say the rest, and I spelled the word T-A-N, G-L-E. I hope I spelled it right, but and they disqualified me. They said I didn't spell it right, and I'm confused, and they said I spelled it with a K, and the audience challenged because you could challenge, so they challenged. I think they challenged it 3 or 4 times that I spelled it with a K, and I said, "No, I didn't spell it with a K. I was sounding the word out, Tay, and spell it with a K." And I lost. And when they handed me my certificate, I ripped it up and I threw it in their face. Threw it in their face. I had to be 4th or 5th grade.
Yeah.
And when I got back to the school, of course, I now taken the certificate and ripped it up and threw it in the face. I mean, literally, the lady, she handed me the certificate. I ripped it up. Now imagine a little boy, and I threw it in their face. So now I'm in the principal's office. And the principal asked me, well, why did you do it? Because I wasn't a troubled student. And I told him what happened. And brother, I think from the bus ride to the competition back to the school, it may have been 30 minutes. And he said, wow. And the others told how they challenged it. And they called over to the school, the competition said, we want to hear the tape. And they said, oh, we erased the tape.
Oh,
They said they erased the tape.
yeah.
So that was kind of my first. These are some of the childhood experiences
Yeah.
that I grew up with. I never was a great student, but I was always very smart.
Mhm.
But I wasn't a great student because the work never challenged me. I remember my mother, you bringing all this back. I remember my mother, we were at a parent teachers conference, and I think it was my social studies teacher, and she was in tears talking to my mother because, brother, I mean, I came to school for socializing,
Yeah.
never came to school for the schoolwork. And she said she made a test, and she knew that every student in the class was going to flunk the test. She knew it. She said she made the test just for me to see if I would pass the test, and I aced the test. And she had tears in her eye. She said, "Because I don't understand why he won't apply." Because I wouldn't do any schoolwork, I wouldn't do any classwork, I wouldn't do any homework, but brother, I could if you put that test in front of me,
Yeah.
I could pass it, and I've never paid attention in class.
Yeah.
So, I think I was the typical black male at that time, and what I mean by typical is that, I didn't see a future for me in the American dream. I didn't see that. And to be quite honest, at one time I was joking with my wife last night. We were watching a show and they were singing the Star Spangled Banner in the show. And I was singing it with her. I singing it and I told my wife, see, you don't know the word. I said, I was a true patriot. Brother, I at one point I thought that I thought the quote unquote American dream and the American life was for me in that sense. I wasn't aware of racism, but as I became older, I became more disenchanted
Yeah.
because I became more conscious of the treatment of our people in America. And the lifestyle that I leaned towards was what I seen with NWA and because it was a rebellious lifestyle. It wasn't so much of the just wanting to be violent and wanting to be in gang. It was just a rebellion against the system, and I went that direction. So, that's some of the things I remember, from my childhood, but I enjoy my childhood. I was surrounded by a lot of love. I was the youngest at the time, and kinda the baby of the family in a lot of senses, so, I was always protected and surrounded and loved and favored, and
Yeah.
that was my experience, so
What are the earliest what do you feel like the lessons that you received in those experiences? From the spelling bee and, writing that paper. What do you feel like the lesson was that you got? and,
I,
and
I
going through those.
looking at my life now
Hmm.
and what I'm into now, the work, the community,
Yeah.
I think it was necessary. I often think about what I would have been if this patriotic well, I don't want to use that word patriotic. If this if I had been blindly in love with America. And I say patriot, I don't want it because a true patriot is one that stands for truth
Yeah.
and justice,
Yeah.
right? Regardless of the political climate of the country, they stand for truth and justice. That it should be America should be what it promises to be,
Hmm.
right? But it's not.
Yeah.
Okay, so I I I would say those who are true tell us are true patriots. But my point that I'm making is that I think that those experiences were necessary because I was to learn the lessons that would lead me down the path that I'm on today, which is a path that looks at the condition
Yeah.
and works to transform the condition,
Yeah.
right? Particularly of our people, our community, and those who are oppressed, those who are voiceless.
Yeah.
I think all of those things shaped me, right? And they were necessary. And I think that if most of us, if we really look, they were divine.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
You have to have a realization that there's always a spiritual component to our lives guiding us.
Yes.
There's always a divine intervention in our life guiding us to our destiny.
Yes.
See? And there's certain experiences, whether we like them or not. But I think sometimes if I had to become that spelling bee champion and, I'm, brought into this certain atmosphere, I might have thought I was better than my own people, or I might have been disconnected, or I wouldn't have had some of these experiences because I wouldn't have rebelled. I would have been hook, line, and sent in centered with these what some of our people believe is
Yeah.
um, the American dream, and that I may be one of those who don't see the injustice or don't see the lie. I may have been so.
Yeah.
I think those experiences for me were necessary. I think that those experiences were necessary for me to see strength in my mother,
Yeah.
because she taught me strength. She taught me to use my voice. She taught me how to stand, how to fight without fear. And she taught me how to fight with intelligence because she wasn't belligerent and cussing people out. No, she was using language and words without being foul, but intelligence. And I learned from her. I studied her and I learned how to. So I needed those different experiences
Were there moments you felt misunderstood or underestimated? And how did that impact you?
all the time.
Yeah.
There's a song, "Oh Lord, please don't let me be misunderstood."
Oh, yeah.
I think I had to go back to my teacher there on Minister Louis Farrakhan. He said something, and he said that I say this humbly because I don't think necessarily I'm a great person, but I do recognize that I'm on a path. He said that, you know, people, um, paraphrasing the words that are destined for greatness, they're often misunderstood by their peers.
Yeah.
So, um, I think there have been many times where my motivation, my inspiration, my actions have been misunderstood. But I've learned over time that time itself is a great teacher,
Yeah.
and that if you're patient and stay on the path, if you know your heart is right, eventually, may
Mhm.
not be today, may not be tomorrow, but eventually, then the misunderstanding will be corrected by those who have good intention,
Yes.
those who sincerely misunderstand. Because once they get knowledge, And once they see your action, they can measure your action, and they can say, "Oh well, the brother may not be perfect, but he has good intention, and his motivation is good, it's pure, it's not malicious." But sometimes that takes time,
Yes.
and you can't get. I used to sometimes, there's been times in my life where I would get angry
Mhm.
or upset, and I got to defend myself, and I still get like that sometimes. I take a deep breath. You know what I mean? And I'll talk to myself and I'll say, brother Tremikus, you just got to stay on the path.
Yes.
We have a prayer that we say as Muslim, and in the prayer we say to God, we say to Allah, we say, guide us on the right path.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
What environment shaped you the most? Like your household, your neighborhood, your school? What kind of molded you into who you will become or who you are?
It would be the mosque. It would be
Yeah.
the Nation of Islam.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, we can kind of pivot into that
okay.
next section here, which is going to be identity, which is, at what point was there a specific moment, that helped you shift your mindset
Mm.
into, what you're seeking to
Oh,
become
brother.
or, you know.
At a certain point, I don't, when you're in the streets and you're selling drugs,
Mhm.
particularly at that time, crack, you see a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I remember it was a young mother, beautiful sister, and she was a drug addict. And oftentimes, brother, when women are on drugs, particularly drugs like crack cocaine, they're willing to do things uh, for their high. And I remember it was a group of us. I was really young, so the older boys, you can't come, you stay outside, right? And they went in to the woman's house and they were doing what they do. And I'm standing outside and I look in the window, and in the window are her children. Her children are looking at me. I'm looking at her children. And it pricked something in
Yeah.
my conscience because I didn't need to sell drugs.
Yeah.
My mother took good care of me. I had a summer job. Imagine that, right? At the we had a summer job program. I was there for my peers. The gang life. This was part of it.
Yeah.
I love gangbang. I'm not gonna lie to you. I love that, brother. But the drugs were not me.
Yeah.
And that pricked something in my conscience. So then I started reading. I think the first book I read was Nat Turner.
Mm.
Never I don't even know how I found this book. It was in the school library.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I found this book on Nat Turner and it blew my mind. Brother, I went back and the book was gone. I
Wow.
think the librarian seen me reading it and she got rid of the book. But now I'm aware now that it's not just eyes on the prize and sprayed down with water hose and sicked on dogs. No, there were those who were among us who were freedom fighters. So now my eyes were a little open. They weren't all the way open. I went back to gang life, and I think the statute of limitations have passed. Right, so I can share this.
Yes.
I have a cousin, and the night before I wasn't with him. They had robbed this brother of his coat, this leather telly coat. These were really popular in the 90s. And we were at school. We all went to school together. We were out at school, and after school, we would hang out in front of the school. My cousin had on the brother's coat, and he pulled up with his crew. So quite naturally, he took his coat the night before.
Yeah.
We hear, they hear,
It's on.
it's on. So my cousin, he jumps off of the 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 wall, and he whole crew now, we headed for their crew. And it's another brother next to me. Now, mind you, he's in a gang too. He's in the streets too. In fact, about it, his whole family is into this life. When I jump off with my cousin to go fight, he looks at me and he shakes his head and he said, "Man, you need to read this." And he hands me the autobiography of Malcolm X. Now imagine, imagine we in the same, me and you the same, brother. I didn't really know. He hands me the book. I get the book, but I mean, I just put it in my bag, but I got to catch up because we get ready to fight. And now in that same scenario, my cousin walks past the guy. He had this jacket on, and when he walks past him, he tries to hit his shoulder. Now I'm watching this like a movie. When he goes to hit the guy's shoulder, he misses, so he stumbles, and he turns around and he said, "Why you try to hit me?" So the brother said, "Man, please, I don't want just leave me alone." Now I'm watching this. My conscience is a little prick. I see this picture. This brother, he's handed me the Malcolm X book, and we're starting to fight. The man don't want to fight. So now what are we doing? What are we doing? Why are we living this life? Clearly, this is not the way to go.
Yeah.
Time passes. Now this is all in a moment. Same high school. I'm flunking out of high school, brother. My goal in high school at 16 was to become 16 years old so I could drop out of high school. At 16, you can legally drop out of high school. We're comparing low GPAs, not high GPA. What you get? I got a 1.1. I got a 1.0. I mean, it's like we're comparing it, right? But somebody told me you can go to woodshop class. And in woodshop class, I don't even know why it mattered to me because I was going to drop out. But they said in woodshop class, you can go and all you have to do is show up and they'll give you a D, passing grade, just a D. I show up at the class. It's a brother in the class. Well, 16, I'm 16, he's 16, but he's in the Nation of Islam. He is a Muslim. And he's teaching us in the classroom, because we didn't come for the lesson, he's teaching out the Bible. He's breaking down religion and scripture. Now I'm 16 years old. And his words, now I'm on this path. Nat Turner, Malcolm X, the sister and her children. I'm on this path. My consciousness is being pricked. And this brother now, he's bringing it all the way home. Now, brother, I'm a hardcore gangbanger. I am the spirit, the life of the gang. If they want to get something started, I'm the smallest one in the group. But that's you tell me, and then we gonna get it started. I'm gonna lead the pack. This is my life.
Yeah.
As he's talking to me, he's pricking my conscience. So now I can't be in the gang life, and I'm becoming conscious. I'm I'm realizing what we doing is wrong.
Yeah.
I decide, let me paint the picture. This brother is a martial artist. He's a championship wrestler, okay? And he's a bodybuilder, 16 in high school. I said, I'm going to prove that he's just a gangbanger just like me. Because he's watching me. He's seeing me do stuff. He's shaking his head. You know, you gotta change. He's trying to get me to change. I'm not listening to him, but I am listening to him.
Yeah.
I said, I'm gonna prove that he all that I love black people stuff, all that he talking, that ain't real. He's just a gangbanger just like me. I'm insulting him. He Muslim. He's in the fruit of Islam and FOI, which is the men of the Nation of Islam. I'm telling, excuse my language, but I'm young, and I'm telling him, FOI means fags on the island. I mean, I'm brother. He just patient with me. This day I decide I'm gonna prove he's just a regular old dude, regular old street dude. And you know those magazines? If
Mhm.
you take a magazine, you ball it up real, real tight, it become like a stick.
Yep.
So I decided I'm gonna prove it. So he comes to class, he's talking to me. And I said, man, shut up. You don't know what you talking about. And I jumped up out of my seat with all my might. I hit him across the face with the magazine. We in this like the auto shop when the sound echoes. So when I hit him, pow, it echoes off the wall. The whole class stopped. You know, we young, ooh. I jump back. I'm ready to fight. Now I know, but I know he's gonna mop me up. I know this,
Yeah.
but I need him to mop me up. Because if he mops me up, he's just like us.
Just like, yep.
Just like us. He looks at me, he shakes his head. I never forget it, and he says, mm, mm, mm. He gets up and he walks out the classroom. I'm standing there. And brother, can you imagine? I felt so small. Oh my God. In my head, he's real. He is what he says he is. Right? He's not this street dude. Because I mean, if I did that to the average guy, I mean, brother, it would have been a war.
Yeah.
I run out the hallway. I say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I do anything you want me to do. And he looks at me with a smile and he said, I want you to come to the mosque with me.
Yeah.
And I went to the mosque and the rest was history.
Oh, wow.
That's my story.
That reminds me of I heard one brother talking about a lot of us have misplaced energy of, being a warrior, being a fighter,
Yes.
and you're fighting the wrong thing,
Or- Absolutely.
you know?
Absolutely.
And I'm sure he saw that in you.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. It was at 16, brother, to handle that the way he did.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a blessing.
And that sounds like a turning point right there
That
because
was.
if he had chose to, act back violently, that could have changed the outcome of who you are,
Yeah.
you know?
Brother, it would
Yeah.
the reason I did it
Yeah.
was to change the outcome.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's one of those divine what'd you say,
Divine intervention.
divine interventions.
Literally.
Yeah.
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 And I started going and I started listening.
Mhm.
And the absolute last straw is I'm listening now, I'm going to the mosque. I'm still kind of in the world.
Yeah.
We went to the skating rink and it was a guy. They wanted to fight. The gang wanted to fight this gang. And as I told you earlier, I'm the guy.
Yeah.
So they point him out. Okay, they call me Meek. Okay, Meek. Imagine my name is Meek and I'm in a gang, right?
Mhm.
Okay, Meek. He's over there. This is what we getting ready to do. We need you to go over there and get it started. That was my thing.
Yeah.
And I said, man, that's my words. I said, man, leave that brother alone. I said, what? Brother? Brother? They said, man, since you been going to that mall, you done got weak. I can't remember. They still end up fighting though. But I can't remember all that I was thinking. But what I do remember is I knew at that moment
Yeah.
it's over.
Yeah. That's my next question is how did your relationship change with your current crew, friends,
Yeah,
who you were associating with? Did some of them did you try to bring some of them with you
oh yeah.
into it?
I'd
Yeah.
bring all of them with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, my cousins, I took all of them to see Minister Farrakhan.
Mhm.
One actually came into the nation originally with me,
Yeah.
but after pressure from the family, he left, and maybe his own decision as well. But I tried to bring all of them with me because we were all in the same kind of life.
Yeah.
They eventually all changed their lives. I mean, all of them now are family men now.
Yeah.
All of them have gotten out of that lifestyle. Uh, it took a little bit more for some than others, right? But all of them,
You want some water?
yeah,
I got some water. You got some water?
yeah, that's some water. So all of them all of them changed their lifestyle.
Yeah.
But there was a period of separation between us. I would say for about 4 or 5 years, where I didn't come around much at all, because there was always a attempt to drink a beer, come do this, come do that, and
Yeah.
not really understanding the transition. But um, yeah, now we're back to where we were in terms of closeness. Yes, sir.
That's and when you made that transition, were you practicing any type of denomination or religion
Oh
prior?
yeah, brother. I was in love with the church.
Yeah.
I was that child who admired the preacher.
Was that Baptist?
Were we no, we were non-denominational.
Okay.
But well, my mother was non-denominational, and my father's side of the family were Baptist.
Yeah.
I have to say I always loved Baptist preachers more.
Yeah.
The fire and the brimstone preaching. I love that. But I used to love to go to church. Um, I used to love well, I used to love I had some resistance, I think, maybe as any child, but I like to hear the preaching.
Mhm.
I like to shake his hand. I think that I always imagined myself being a preacher, pastor over I wouldn't say pastor, but
Yeah.
I imagined well, no, I know it because, when I was young, I would preach.
Mhm.
My cousins, they had this recording
Yeah.
of me as a young boy, and I preach, and, I remember may sound a little strange, but as a little boy, we had the projector, and I would put the projector behind me, and I would preach out the window of the apartment complex. And I remember one night I was preaching. I was a little boy, I had to be like 6 or 7 years old, and I'm preaching out the window. I don't know what I was talking about. And, there was a group, um, below, and they start making mockery. They older people. They start making mockery, and somebody in the crowd yelled, "Leave him alone.
Yeah.
One day he's gonna be a great preacher."
Yeah.
So I always had that kind of um, inclination and leaning towards the church.
Mhm.
Um, it just wasn't strong enough
Yeah.
to pull me out of the world.
Yeah.
You know, uh, I I will always thank God, Allah, for the pastors, the church mothers, the ushers, the Sunday school teachers, and the great example of Christian life that my family, none of us are perfect, but they tried.
Yes.
Particularly on my mother's side, they tried to demonstrate for me a Christian life. But the world always seemed just a little bit funner, right?
Yeah.
So that was my upbringing in the church. I went to Sunday school. I think I'm trying to remember. I'm not sure. I think I may have sung a little bit in the choir. I know I was on the usher board for sure. I took great pride in that. So I was, for all intents and purposes, a active Christian.
Mhm.
Not fully in the faith. It wasn't righteous living, but that was my faith.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And what was the transition like from that into
Oh, that was rough.
yeah.
It wasn't rough necessarily for me because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan were giving me better understanding of the Bible
Yes.
and Christianity. And, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, if you know anything about him, he's always preaching in the churches. He's always giving new and greater and deeper understanding about Jesus. So for me, it wasn't so tough.
Yeah.
But for my family, who didn't understand what was happening, right? And you have rumors and gossip and these ideas about what's happening, and you don't believe in Jesus no more. It's not true. All Muslims believe in Jesus. In fact, about it, there's the surah. Maryam in the Quran that's dedicated to the mother of Jesus.
Yes.
And Jesus in the Quran is referred to as the Messiah. So, but they don't know that,
Yeah.
right? This is so very hard, and in some instances, family tried to make it a little difficult.
Yeah.
But I would go to the church. The church started at 10, mosque started at 2. So I would go to church, and then after church, I would go to the mosque. Then our church moved across the street from the mosque.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So literally,
Yeah.
I would leave out of the front door of the church and go across the street to the mosque.
Wow. Yeah.
And my mother, she had me do that for a while. Then as she seen that, this is the way he's going, then I would just go to the mosque and not to the church. But my family was across the street, a little building right across the street from the mosque. That
Yeah.
is the church home.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So there were some cultural differences, and you probably had to educate them on their perception,
Yes,
because they have their view of what they believe
they did.
it is, and you have to maybe address that or speak to them.
Yeah, and being a young Muslim, like anything, you're fired up,
Yeah.
you're enthused. I made a lot of mistakes,
Yeah.
and I wasn't educating them. I was telling them.
Because you become defensive
Right,
sometimes, and
right. And I'm 16 years
yeah,
old,
yeah,
and you know,
yeah.
I was at war. Now it's not like that. Me and my family are very close, and they're very accepting of the faith. And of course, I'm very accepting of them. My teacher down Miss Lewis Farrakhan has just given me a clear understanding
Yeah.
of the faith to the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So I did try to share with him, but what I learned because my mother eventually came into the Nation of Islam, my father eventually came into my stepfather eventually came into the Nation of Islam. What I learned was we like to practice religion through our lips.
Mm. Yeah.
What I learned that was more effective is that we practice religion through our action.
Yes.
And I remember one of my cousins, I was selling the Final Call newspaper, and I'm outside the liquor store, and he come, and I'm trying to get him to buy the paper. And he says to me, he said, "Meek, I'm not taking that paper." I was insulted at first. He said, "I'm not going to read it." He said, "If it's anything that's going to make me to change," he said, "it's you." He said, "If I can look at that religion and it produces a change in you, then I know it can produce a change in me."
Yeah.
So what I learned was it's not what you talk, it's what you walk.
Yes.
And that is, I'm not perfect in my walk, but that is what I strive to do with my family. And that's what I strive to do in my life to try and walk, as best I can. And so that became the education. And then after they seen how I was
Yeah.
living my life, then they became more open to
Yes.
hear
Yeah.
and to read.
Wow.
And that's been the journey. That's who we are right now.
As a black man in America, how did the nation change how you viewed yourself?
Mm, the Nation of Islam, the teaching of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, gave me an identity. It showed me how to view myself in the eyesight of God. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he became himself the example.
Yes.
So the nation became, who are you? Well, you can say you're African. That wouldn't be a lie in the sense that that is where we come from, many of us. And I have Native in my family. You can say that. I can show you my grandmother, and she can say I'm American. We've been here for 400 years.
Yeah.
But the Nation of Islam took all that away. I said, no, brother, you're the original man. And all of this, you are, your father is the originator of all of creation. And your tie is not to a continent, your tie is to God. And now, what does that do? So you hear in the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the black man is God. Well, it's not. It's not said to make you feel good.
Yeah.
No. If you know who you are, then you know what to expect from yourself. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, you are a member of the Creator's nation. Act accordingly. So the Nation of Islam shaped for me my morals. It shaped for me my character. It shaped for me my culture. Because the Nation of Islam itself had its own culture. See? Had its own cultural identity. It shaped for me what manhood meant. The class, the Fruit of Islam class, a manhood training class. It shaped for me what my treatment of women should be and how they should treat me, how you should raise your children. It gave me a complete identity overhaul.
Yeah.
And it has become the standard of my life. So I got an example. I look at Minister Farrakhan. Well, this is what a man is supposed to be. This is his way. I study his way, try to emulate his way, right? Uh, it gave for me my philosophical and ideological identity, right? Rooted all in the scriptures of the Bible and the Quran. It connected me to the world spiritually and physically, and connected me to the universe. It connected me to the Creator, and made that relationship not a relationship that's like in the sky and it's untouchable, but that this is the reality.
Yeah.
That the physical representation of God is man.
Yeah.
That if you want to know God, you must know yourself first.
Yeah.
The Nation of Islam gave me a way to analyze myself, a way to examine myself, and a way to correct myself.
Like a tool,
A tool,
assessment kit.
self-improvement.
Yeah.
And it taught me, there's so much, you talk about the nation, it's a can of worms, brother.
Yeah.
But it taught me that the improvement of community is rooted in the improvement of self.
Yeah.
The better you become, the better everything else around you become. You become infectious.
Yeah.
See, it also taught me that my existence is not to be confined to self. That righteousness is not about you don't smoke, you don't drink, you don't do this, you don't do that, right? That's not what it's about. Righteousness is about your ability to live a life morally, um, your ability to live a life that the goodness of your life, it affect others.
Right.
So I hope that answers your question, but
It does. I also want to just get a little deeper into just how is there any type of do you ever feel any like juxtaposition or like imbalance between being part of the nation and an American? Because it's almost like being in a hostile land,
yes,
that you are a member of that is also not supportive of you in a lot of like there's some
yeah,
deep rooted systemic things and in which even the nation itself has been targeted by the
Yes, it
system,
has.
you know?
Yes, it
So
has.
it's like being a member of something, being, as best as you can to be that, but you're not getting love from, where you live.
Yes,
Essentially, it's just geographical, like, we just live here,
yes.
you know?
Well, for me, I can speak because America in and of itself mistreats so many. So if I'm not in the nation of Islam and I'm a just just for the sake of conversation, a black man in America, does America, the government of America, am I not a target? Still a target.
Yeah.
So do I feel, being a member of the Nation of Islam and being an American, well, what I recognize is that America has not been what it has promised. America promises freedom for all, justice for all, equality for all. And America has made that promise in its Constitution,
Yes.
made those promises in its bills, made those promises in its policy, but it has not delivered. What the Nation of Islam does for me is it gives me a way to achieve those things regardless of what the country does or what the government does, right?
Yeah.
So my hope is not in the government of the United States of America. And my hope is not in legislation or politics or the passing of any policy. What the Nation of Islam taught me and is teaching me is that we have the ability to do for ourselves. And that what we have to focus on is our own condition.
Yes.
And if we change our own condition, we create the environment. See, because it's not that being in the nation, it America in its practices has taken black and even brown, native, indigenous people and separated us from the privilege and the justices that America promises.
Yes.
And what we have found ourselves doing, particularly black people in America, is for the past 400 years plus, almost 500 years, trying to get the government of the United States of America to recognize our humanity, see, and recognize the rights that we deserve because of the sacrifices that we've made. Some we made involuntarily,
Yeah.
some we made voluntarily, meaning we from slavery to the wars. We fought in every war.
Yes.
So we are not asking for something that we don't deserve. But America still seems to want to stick to the three-fifths of a human being philosophy
Yeah.
and treat us as subhuman. So, yes, to your question, yes, there is some um, um, what do you? I forgot how you put.
Like a juxtaposition, just
There is some, just, but it's not
yeah.
because of the Nation of Islam.
Yeah.
It's because of the policies and the practices
Yeah.
of America that is based in a mind of white supremacy. Because when they made America in their constitution and in their development of the country, it was to be for white people by white people. And
Yes.
the rest of us were to be servant slaves for the will of the rich and powerful in this country.
Man, that's powerful, brother. Um, when did you realize you had a responsibility to lead and guide others?
Oh man, almost immediately.
Yeah.
Almost immediately. I came into what we call teaching, which is with teaching, being in the ministry in the Nation of Islam when I was 16 years old. I think before I got in the door good.
Mhm.
And I I've always felt, I don't, not in a necessary leadership, but even when I was telling you about the young children,
Yeah.
I've always felt some responsibility,
Yeah.
right, to change but I didn't know how.
Yeah.
I felt it, but I didn't know how. I'm coming up in the '90s, so there's no Black Panther Party. There is no really, the Nation of Islam is rebuilding at that time, right? There is a Nation of Islam, but not like it was. There's no SNCC, SCLC. There's none of that, right? Um, there is Crips, Bloods,
Mm.
Gangster Disciples, Vice Lords. This
Yeah.
is what I'm surrounded by, and they're not community organizations like they started at.
Yeah.
These are straight up street organizations
Mhm.
into crime, right? So there was my point is, there was nobody for me to turn to that could say, do this or do that. My mentors were OGs.
Yeah.
They handed me facts. That's what they're doing. They putting work in my hand. They're
Yeah.
not telling me to go change the condition of our people, but that was what I wanted.
Yeah.
When I came into the nation gave me the tool, right? It gave me the knowledge, teaching that I'm Elijah Muhammad, and the tools, right? To now go out and do this, and almost immediately, I felt a sense of responsibility because how could you know these things and not share them,
Yeah.
not teach them? How can you see people? I remember in high school, I would come to high school and I would have a book bag. In my book bag, it was not full of school books. Had Message to the Black Man, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad wrote, How He Used to Live, Our Savior, and all of his books and other books that supported his teaching.
Yeah.
And I remember the teacher would be teaching a subject. I remember in particular it was a teacher, my history class teacher, and he would teach a subject. And when he hit on one of those lies, I think, they talked about how the Egyptians got their civilization from the Greeks, these kind of things. And the students would love it because what I would do when they hit that point, brother, I would start putting my books on the desk. I'd be pulling them out of my bag and be putting my book and I would raise my hand. And teachers, they knew. The teachers knew, and they would try to ignore me. And none of the students would raise their hand. They would say, Tremikus has his hand up. Tremikus has his hand up. And and then I would open these books up. But I felt it necessary to educate my peers.
Yeah.
I got this knowledge and you don't know it. And if you got it, what will it make you? And I knew, and I mean, brother, when I tell you in high school, the amount of influence that I was blessed to have over high school students because they were hungry and thirsting for knowledge. I felt it my duty to give it to them. And I felt it my duty to right some of the wrongs that I had done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I had done some wrongs because I didn't know. Well, no, that's not true. I knew.
Yeah.
My mother had taught me well. And the reason why I know that I knew is because I was hiding what I was doing from her.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I just felt a responsibility to try and right some of the wrongs that I had done. So that was right away.
When when so black youth right now are facing some struggles,
Mhm.
and you know I like to think like things have changed since the 80s, 90s,
Mhm.
2000s, but a lot kind of hasn't changed. So what kind of concerns you the most about the condition of the youth, the black youth today in the American experience? Like what are your concerns, and then also not just concerns, like what do you think some of the solutions might
Gotcha.
be to some of those?
Yes. First, the condition of black youth is not their fault.
Mhm.
It's intentional. It's by design.
Yes.
When I was coming up, brother, in the '90s, we had NWA, but we also had Arrested Development. We had the Ghetto Boy, but we also had Public Enemy. And the music, the influence that it had over us, you could make a choice. Because the same way I was bumping NWA and I had the starter jacket and the hat and the dope man Nikes, well, then I was bumping KRS-One too. See? And what happened with black youth today is that there was a rise of consciousness. Like my generation, I tell you my story and the change. Some of that change through the books, Malcolm X, Nat Turner, but some of that change was through the music
Yeah.
and the consciousness that was being delivered through the music. Okay. So our youth have been intentionally targeted.
Yeah.
There is a argument that takes place. It's in the Message to the Black Man, Albert Muhammad points out, and it's a senator, and they're talking about Howard University, and they're talking about the establishment of Howard University. And this senator is quoted as saying, "Why should we open up a university or a college for the Negro when we've done everything possible to remove light from the mind of the Negro?" He said the only thing, he said, that we have not done is remove. There's only one thing left. We have to remove the possibility of them even seeing the light.
Mm.
Okay, let's fast forward. Did that sentiment change? Let's go to COINTELPRO. Let's go to J. Edgar Hoover. J. Edgar Hoover is looking. He's looking at Martin Luther King. He's looking at Malcolm X. At that time, Stokely Carmichael, who later became Kwame Ture. And he's looking at the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And he's looking at them and he's saying, these men have the ability to be the Messiah for black people and unite black people. We got to deal with them. We got to stop the rise of a black Messiah. And they start moving intentionally to take from us leadership
Yes.
that would open up our minds to a new reality and possibility. Dr. King, the night before he was assassinated, go listen to the mountaintop speech. He's not talking about, I have a dream or lift every voice and sing. He's talking about, he says, redistribute the pain. He's talking about us uniting. He's talking about economic development.
Yeah.
He's talking about us changing our condition outside of the system. 39 years old. Malcolm, 39 years old, assassinated. They took and destroyed the Black Panther Party. They used differences ideologically. They used disagreement
Yeah.
along with their outside attacks. They used envy. They used jealousy. They went into the music industry. They broke up Public Enemy. They took Professor Griff out of Public Enemy. They took and changed the type of music. Too Short is famous for telling the story of how he said he wanted to make conscious music for his people. They said, no, well, first we're gonna make this music, then later you can make that kind of music. So we need the cuss words and the pimp in it. And they brought in a culture through the music. So you take away the music, or you take away the leaders who guide. You take the music that's inspiring and enlighten them, and you take that away, and you give them trap music. You take that away, you give them porn
Yeah.
through the music. You take that away, and you give them what's this drill rap.
Real busy, yeah.
You take away that and give them mumble rap. You now know, they know music is influential.
Yeah.
Then you put it on television. See? And you put this type of lifestyle in front of black youth who don't have nothing. This how you get it. You take away the jobs and you put in crack cocaine. You put in drug use and drug addiction. This is an environment that's been created for our youth that they've fallen victim to. And then not only have they fallen victim to an environment that they didn't create, they've been blamed.
Yeah.
Okay,
My
that's
brother,
the problem.
my
So now what's the solution?
we gonna have to part two this.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
yeah.
No, man. No, we will part two this.
Yes, sir.
And then we're gonna start with a solution.
Okay.
This is where we're gonna start with
Okay.
part two.
Okay, yes, sir.
I really appreciate your time. I appreciate you coming here and speaking with me about this.
Yes, sir.
And this is very important, just that we are changing our narrative, controlling our narrative.
Sir.
You know, the sonic resonance is what I call it. They're not gonna control, you know, the airways. We can control that.
That's right. Come on.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. I leave on I'll be back on the 23rd. So anytime after the 23rd.
I leave on the 22nd.